Awesome. Go ahead.
Well, oh, sorry. Welcome to our third Mindfulness for Musicians session. I'm Jessica Koebbe, and I've got my doctorate and other degrees in piano performance and specialize in helping teachers learn how to address performance anxiety and adopt mindfulness practices in their private teaching. I teach at Mid-American Nazarene University and am the founder of Mindful Music Pedagogy. I'm joined today by Francesca Leo, a flutist with her master's from the Manhattan School of Music, who's the founder of Playing Without Pain, a resource that helps musicians and teachers address or prevent performance-related injuries. And we both serve on the wellness committee for the Puerto Rico Flute Symposium. Francesca heads that up, so that is why we're joining forces today. Our previous sessions have addressed the relationship between the body and the brain as it relates to breathing. The first session took a holistic approach and introduced viewers to my 3B exercise, which draws awareness to the breath, the body, and the brain. Francesca provided some excellent resources and discussed the importance of the vagus nerve. And then our second session focused on the relationship between breathing and pain. And I walked viewers through some exercises about box breathing and expansion breathing, and also some research by Dr. Edmund Bourne. Francesca dived further into the importance of understanding that mind-body connection. So if you missed either of those, I'd encourage you to go back. They are, both sessions are archived on the Puerto Rico Flute Symposium's Facebook page, as well as Francesca's site, playingwithoutpain.com, and my site, mindfulmusicpedagogy.com. We've gotten some feedback from music educators who are not able to use social media sites in their classrooms. So if you are a music educator and you wish to share any of these videos with your students, we offer the recorded Zoom sessions. You can find those on YouTube under Playing Without Pain's channel. We welcome viewer interactions as we broadcast today, and also any comments or questions that you have, so feel free to drop those in the comment section and we'll look forward to dialoguing with you. Today, Francesca is going to be guiding the majority of our discussion as we explore the relationship between breath and our brain's ability to focus. So take it away, Francesca.
Great. Thanks for that wonderful introduction, Jessica. So we're so happy to be here again with you all today. Like Jessica said, the previous sessions are available, archived, so we encourage you to go back and listen to those. So today we'll be talking about the relationship between breathing and focus. So as musicians, we're often used to multitasking and constantly preparing for our next big performance or audition. Many of us utilize several different skill sets each day as we engage in a variety of tasks for work or school. We're used to constantly being under pressure and always in preparation mode for our next big event. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. So many of us musicians experience chronic stress or anxiety as a result of this, and some of us may also experience a term called brain fog or fuzzy thinking, where you find it difficult to remember things that you were just told, you're unable to follow simple conversations because your brain is constantly on overdrive, or you find it difficult to focus in classes or lessons. So if you experience chronic brain fog, you may want to consult with your doctor for possible underlying conditions that may be contributing to this. For today's session, we'll be primarily focusing on the role of anxiety and stress in brain fog and some basic things that you can do to counteract this. So I went ahead and pulled some research on this topic. According to Dr. Shreya Raj, from the Center of Brain-Mind Medicine at the Harvard-affiliated Brigham and Women's Hospital, both generalized anxiety disorders, which is when worrying is excessive in your daily life, and depression, which is feelings of extreme sadness or hopelessness that last for more than 2 weeks, can cause fuzzy thinking or brain fog. So Dr. Raj states that these conditions interfere with your ability to attend to what's going on around you, and you feel mentally exhausted as a result. This can impair your ability to think clearly or to make a decision. So let's briefly discuss the role of anxiety, or the role anxiety can play in your life. So anxiety, as defined by psychologist Alicia Clark, is a complex brain-body system that has evolved over millions of years to help ensure our survival. Anxiety activates our body's fight or flight response, as we've discussed in previous sessions. So this helps us to quickly prepare our body to take action to get ourselves out of a potentially dangerous situation. Many of us, however, experience everyday anxiety as a result of frequent stress response to stressful situations, such as racing to finish an assignment right before the deadline, which I've been guilty of myself, cramming in a practice session the night before an important performance or lesson, or maybe running late to something important. So if you experience chronic stress, symptoms you may encounter may include worrying, having racing thoughts, overthinking things, fear, and restlessness or difficulty sleeping. So experiencing these symptoms frequently is constantly putting your brain on overdrive. And if you do not use healthy coping mechanisms to reduce everyday stress, wrestling with this constant anxiety will completely exhaust your mind and body and will likely affect your sleep quality as well. So this can produce brain fog or cognitive fatigue, with symptoms including difficulty concentrating and focusing, having unclear thoughts, short-term memory problems, difficulty processing information or following instructions, and so on. When your body is stressed, stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline are released. If these hormones are present for too long and in large quantities, they will overwhelm and exhaust the brain. So some ways to counteract symptoms of brain fog and cognitive fatigue include finding the source of your anxiety, doing something that you enjoy, and taking a break, doing self-care rituals, practicing mindfulness, moving your body and making sure you are well hydrated and well nourished, and practicing centering and breathing exercises. So at this point, I will have Jessica demonstrate a couple breathing exercises for you, and then we'll move on to a short centering exercise. So go ahead, Jessica. Thank you.
Sure. So one of the types of breathing exercises that you can utilize when you're experiencing brain fog is fire breathing. And any of my yoga friends will know what this is, but if you're not familiar with it, it's basically trying to create some energizing breaths, but from nice and deep in your abdomen. So we're resisting that temptation to do those shallow, rapid breathing that's just high up in our chest that can lead to hyperventilation. So to do these, and let's do a little bit of this together. You can sit straight and tall. You want to create a lot of space between your chin, your heart, and your abdomen. And to begin, just take a few deep, relaxing breaths through your nose. Now to begin this exercise, as you exhale, you're actually going to press your abdomen in. So it may be helpful to actually place your hands on your abdomen. When you inhale, your abdomen should expand. And then when you exhale, press your abdomen in with a little bit of force and you'll notice a sound. So it's sort of like inhaling and then exhale. When you inhale, imagine that your diaphragm is expanding gradually, kind of like a balloon, filling with air. And then when you're exhaling, you're pressing that abdomen in and the air is releasing. As you do this for a few rotations, what you want to do is increase the speed. So your breath will be loud and it will be fast. And you want to the point is to get into this really steady rhythm so you don't hyperventilate. But you're going to want to make sure that the length of your inhale matches the length of your exhale. So let's try this for a couple of cycles. So placing your hands on your abdomen, you're going to inhale and let your abdomen fill and press against your hands. Exhale. And let your hands press in against your abdomen. So inhale. Exhale. And now I'll increase the speed. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. A little faster. Inhale. Exhale, inhale, exhale. Make sure as you continue this rhythm on your own that you're breathing deeply, that your abdomen is expanding as you inhale, and that it's contracting as you exhale. Keep going. Increase your tempo just a little bit. And do 3 more of those, and then we'll conclude. So as I mentioned, this is a great one for addressing the brain fog that Francesca mentioned, especially if you have the type of brain fog that makes you feel like you're kind of walking in or operating in slow motion, where it just feels like you can't really form a clear thought, that you're kind of clawing your way through this really hazy environment. But not everyone's adrenaline affects them in that way. For some people, the adrenaline is more like you get supercharged with this crazy energy, and so your heart rate's kind of blowing through the roof, and you're shaking, and you have all these really external physical symptoms that also contribute to brain fog, but it's a little harder to identify as brain fog because it just feels like your brain is spazzing out. Still part of the brain fog phenomenon, but it looks and feels a little different. So for this, if that's what you experience when you're feeling nervous, there are a couple of breathing exercises that might help. The first one is a little review of the box breathing that we did last week. This is a very quick reset. It doesn't take many rotations of this to feel like you're getting things back under control. And then once you're there, we'll move into this ujjayi breath that will be really helpful for relaxing your lower abdominal muscles even further. So to start, as a review for that box breathing, you're going to inhale for 4 as you trace the line across the top. Then you're going to pause for 4 as you go down the side. Going to exhale for 4 as you go across the bottom. Then you're going to pause for 4 as you go back to the top. So let's do that. So inhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. And you can do that as many times as you need, but you'll start to feel you kind of come down a little bit and things start to come more clearly into focus. Things return to what starts to feel like a more normal speed, and you're able to regain a little bit more of your focus and concentration. If you have time, then what you might find helpful is this idea of ujjayi breath. This is definitely more geared to breath awareness and focusing. So again, if you've done yoga, you know what this is, but the idea is you're going to just create a sound which almost acts like a mantra when you're breathing, and you use that sound as your way of connecting back inside. There's a lot of great research on mantras and why they work so well. As a very general explanation, essentially the idea is that because we are the ones creating and outputting a sound, it's acting a little bit like a force field around us that prevents external distractions from getting through and bothering us so much. And so if you're not comfortable maybe saying something out loud, like a word or a syllable, what you do is use this ujjayi breath to help bring your thoughts and your awareness back inside. So you would keep your mouth closed, and you want to breathe in such a way that in the back of your throat, you kind of feel and hear this little rushing sound. So it can sound something like this. I'm not sure how much of that's getting picked up on the microphone, but I think you might get the idea. It's not going to be super loud, but it's something that you can hear and that you use to internalize and draw that focus back in. And so those are just some brief introductions to those types of exercises. And I'll turn it back over to Francesca, who's going to walk us through a focusing exercise.
Yeah, those were great. I feel great now. I was feeling a little on edge earlier, but I really feel so much calmer after those exercises. So thank you. So now I'll lead you through a centering exercise. This is an adaptation from an exercise in the Mindfulness and Acceptance workbook. So I can include a link to that in the description for this video if you're interested in purchasing a copy. So basically, this will help you come back to the present moment, especially when you're feeling really overwhelmed or really stressed and anxious. It's kind of helps you just come back to the present and notice your surroundings and be aware of the feelings and sounds and other sensations around you. So this also really helps with something called radical acceptance, which is basically learning to not place judgment on a situation when it happens. So if you make a mistake in a performance, instead of jumping right to self-criticism, you kind of just acknowledge it and you say, okay, well, that happened, and then you move on. So I think this exercise is really helpful in that regard. So you can do this at any time throughout your daily life. And this exercise is written in the Mindfulness and Acceptance workbook for anxiety if you're interested in going back to it. So we will find a comfortable place to sit down and just be still for a couple moments. You may want to sit upright with your feet flat on the floor, your arms and legs uncrossed, and your hands resting in your lap. So allow your eyes to close. Take a couple of gentle breaths in and out. Notice the sound and feel of your own breath as you breathe in and out. Now turn your attention to the room that you're in. Notice any sounds that you may hear close to you and sounds you may hear that seem further away. Notice the way that you're sitting in your chair and feel the places where your body touches the chair. What sensations do you notice? How does it feel to sit in this chair, in this room? Next, notice the places where your body touches itself and bring your awareness to the spot where your hands touch your lap or your legs. Imagine your sense of awareness pouring down over your hips to where your feet touch the floor. How do your feet feel in the position that they're in now? Notice that your feet are firmly grounded to the floor and the earth beneath you. Notice how well supported you are in this moment. Gently expand your awareness and begin to notice sensations in the rest of your body. If you feel any sensations in your body, do not place judgment on them. Just notice them and acknowledge their presence. Also notice how these sensations may be by themselves, change or shift from moment to moment. Do not try to change them. Now let yourself come back to being just where you are, here in this room. See if you can feel the investment of yourself here, right now. What are you here for? Be aware of the value that you are serving yourself by being here. See if you can allow yourself to be present with the things that you're afraid of. Notice any doubts, reservations, fear, and worries that may come up. See if you can just notice them, acknowledge their presence, make some space for them, and allow them to be there. You do not need to make them go away or work on them. With each breath, imagine you are creating more and more space for them, more space for you to be you, right here where you are. Now see if for just a moment you can be present with your values and commitments. Why are you here? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do with your life? Then, when you're ready, let go of these thoughts and gradually widen your attention to take in the sounds around you. Slowly open your eyes with the intention to bring this awareness into the present moment and throughout the rest of your evening. All right. So I'm curious, how was that for you, Jessica? This is my first time trying this with people.
No, that's fantastic. What was coming to mind as you were doing this was how important it is. Well, first of all, I feel incredibly relaxed, but I also feel very aware and very present, but not in a overstimulated way, just kind of like what you were saying about acknowledging what we are feeling, whether that's positive or negative, and making space for that. And that's what I was thinking a lot about as you were walking through this, because as musicians, when we're performing, we don't have time to, you know,
Yeah.
address everything that is running through our mind, but we do have the ability, if we are aware and practiced in it, of accepting it and just letting things move on in real time as they're occurring, not letting our mind get snagged on anything, whether that's positive or negative, and just embracing that flow that we all try so hard to achieve when we're performing. So
Okay.
it's fantastic.
Great. Glad to hear that.
Uh, yeah. So this is really important when we are feeling anxious and overwhelmed, because we do lose touch with the present moment. That's by nature, that's what anxiety does to us. It distorts our perceptions, it distorts our sense of time and reality. And there are so many ways that we can combat that if we just take a minute and remember. So by practicing all of these things, these are tools that we can use, and by incorporating them throughout our day, it becomes a little bit more second nature to us, so that when these things occur, or distractions or wrong notes or whatever, as we're performing, we can move on without it derailing the performance. So I'd encourage all of you watching to try these breathing and centering exercises to reconnect with your surroundings, improve your focus and your awareness of situations throughout every day, music related or not. Now, next week, we will be discussing the relationship between breathing and performance anxiety. I know we're talking a lot about breathing, but that's for a very intentional purpose here. It's so strongly connected, as I'm hoping you're starting to feel and see. We'll demonstrate some more breathing exercises that you can use when you're feeling nervous or anxious before performances, lessons, recording sessions, and so on. Performance anxiety is incredibly common. It wasn't talked about much before our generation, however, it exists. And so talking about it is a huge thing, and now we have ways to help us combat that. So we look forward to sharing more of our research with you. Thank you so much for joining us. The sources that Francesca mentioned, the Mindfulness and Acceptance Workbook for Anxiety by John P. Forsyth and George Eifert, will be linked in our notes here. Um, And then also don't forget that all these sessions are archived on the Puerto Rico Flute Symposium page, on playingwithoutpain.com, on mindfulmusicpedagogy.com, and on YouTube under the Playing Without Pain YouTube channel. As I mentioned, if you've got any comments or questions, please drop them in the comment section now, and then we'll address it in future sessions. So stay tuned for next week's session, which will be held here, same time. We will be discussing breathing part 3, breathing and performance anxiety. Thank you.
Thank you.